Good afternoon, YouTubers. This is News with a View, a Fat Cat production, hosted by me, John A. Costa, an expert on nothing, which allows me to have an opinion on everything. But it's my opinion that matters. Bob in New York. Today is September 23rd, 2025. This is episode 133. I had to just make sure. There is a lot going on in the news. I'm just going to be talking about Kimmel, ANTIFA, Tom Homan, and Kamala Harris's interview on Rachel Maddow's show. So, really going to be a lot of like what you think. And this is going to go out on Rumble and Facebook today. So, we're hitting all the biggies. Okay, I want to make sure we're all live. We're all going good here. We're going to go to my favorite shot here. It's my favorite shot. All right. Kimmel is set to make his return this evening on his show on ABC, Jimmy Kimmel Live. I do not believe that he will make the apology that people would like to see him make, or some people would like to see him make. I think that he's going to take the time to explain his comments, and that they were taken. They weren't taken out of context, because it was exactly what he was speaking on. It wasn't like it was cut and pasted by anyone. He said what he said, and if you are a free speech advocate, you can be fine with it. I never watched his show. I don't think I've ever watched his show, to be true. So it's hard for me to say, what the guy is really all about, because he's a paid talking head. He's supposed to be funny, and I didn't think Colbert was funny. I didn't think that Colbert was funny, neither was Kimmel. I would say that Jimmy Fallon would make me laugh, some of his stuff. Bill Maher. Jon Stewart, extremely clever. But I don't think Kimmel is going to step back from the comments that he made. And I honestly see this, refueling the fire. Now, this wasn't a matter of free speech, even though this is what you all think, and the media is hyping about and screaming. It's not about free speech, because the FCC did not say pull him off the air. The FCC gave ABC a warning, thus going out to everyone else, that we're very displeased at the comments that he made, and that if we get more complaints of this, we're going to take action. And that's their job. That is their job. They weren't commenting on what he said. It was the possible firing up of people that shouldn't be fired up. And you could go, well, he could say whatever he wants to say. Yeah, and he did, and ABC allowed it. But it was ABC that pulled him off the air. It was not the FCC. And people then, oh, well, he's being pulled off the air because of what he said. And No, he got pulled off the air because of what he had implied. It's a big difference. So, ABC was the one who, Mr. President, I told you I'll get in touch with you after my show. You always do that whenever I start. ABC, their standards and practices went to him, Kimmel, and said, hey, listen, we're getting complaints. This is, we let you do it. We want to know what your answer will be before you do a show. And he told them, and they were not happy with that answer. And the corporate people said, yank him for a little bit. Now, a week, he's been off the air or whatever, 5 days, 6 days, whatever it is. And the company took a lot of heat from both sides. And I'll tell you right now, there will be no winners here. No one's going to be able to say, hey, we did this. It's not going to happen. I think that Kimmel will not apologize in the sense of an apology. I think he will, again, just go over again and say, this is what I said. This was not rhetoric. This was not, what I said was the absolute truth, and, there's the truth, and then there's the truth. It sounds funny, but that's the way he's going to go. And that's the way human nature is, and I wouldn't expect anything less. He is going to try to say exactly why he did it, and I think it's just going to reignite the fire. Sinclair Broadcasting, as well as Nexstar Broadcasting, has now refused to air his program. And that's a total of, I think, Sinclair has 38 and Nexstar has 28 stations. So you're going to have 66 markets that are not going to get Jimmy Kimmel's show or the commercials associated with the show. Now, there's local commercials, and then there's going to be, what's called network commercials. And the networks pay ABC because of the eyeballs. And you're going to take 66 stations away from those eyeballs, your price is going to come down. You're going to have to do make goods for them. You're going to have to readjust that. And that will be a problem, if it goes on for weeks. Because the local stations might turn around and go, hey, we sold that time. We're not going to bump our customers off for you now. We gave you a chance. We said this is what we would need to have to satisfy our corporate interests. You couldn't do it, or you refused to do it, unable or unwilling, whatever it is, we're yanking it, which is their right to do under the terms of their contract, which hasn't even been looked at yet. I can't say that for certainty that, that their contract, allows them to pull a show, but they are decency clause and morality clauses and moral clauses in these contracts that give you some openings to go, yeah, we know what the contract says, but we're exercising this portion of the contract, and we're not airing that show. They're going to show other ABC shows, but not that show. So it isn't like, we're cutting ourselves off from ABC, and that's not the case yet. And I say yet, because you don't know. Maybe ABC goes, hey, we don't want you. I doubt it, because that's how they make their money. And I think that if it goes down the way I think it's going to go down, what do I know? Except everything in the case of Bob in New York. I know everything. He worships me. But I think that if it goes down the way that I'm going to say it's going to go down, or I think it's going to go down. If I think it and say it, all right. Then I can see organized actions against the advertisers of ABC, anyone that's doing ABC's network commercials, and going after the corporate entities of ABC, ESPN, Disney, Pixar, the whole line, and them taking some type of little bumps and hits and protests. Kimmel did cross the line in his statement when he said, MAGA was doing everything they could do to say that Robinson was not a part of MAGA. He said that, and it's kind of a true statement, pointing out that, he is not MAGA, he's one of your guys, and, he changed, he never had a political identification. His family did, but he did not. And the family and the police and authorities, from what has been released, I don't know if that's true or not, but what has been released had shown that in the last year he had really gotten political towards the left. All right, I'm going to have to hold on 1 second. No, I'm back. I didn't have to take that call. They'll leave a message. There's the message. And what, I know the president wants to do all that, but I can't. I can't do everything you want me to do. Okay, well, all right. And it's not MAGA. It's been the Republicans saying, no, this guy has been, he's has a transition girlfriend boy, so he's dating a man, and is very now deep into the leftist ideology. I'm sure there are many Republican transgender people, so I won't say that all transgenders are left-leaning. I'm sure there's transgender people that don't care either way. But what Kimmel never mentioned were the Democrats that were in office and now out of office that gleefully jumped up and down hours after Robinson's arrest saying, he's MAGA, see, he's MAGA. And that's not the truth. And because of the shooting in Minnesota and 2 other school shootings that were done by trans. Is there a connection to all of them? I don't know. No one has said there was a connection. The only connection is that they're trans and LGBTQ, and the Democrats are all 100% supportive of those groups. So you'd have to say that they're in that group. But they were, who was that? A Representative Wu from California who was, on there laughing that this is a MAGA guy, this is your guy, this is blah, blah, and it wasn't the truth. And you had other people, you had, and not politicians, but you had a bunch of other people, I think Rosie Herpy-Lipped O'Donnell had said, things and then had to pull back. Even about the other schools, she should have known just to keep her mouth shut, not to say anything. So that's what's going on with Kimmel. We'll see tonight. I don't think that he will give a mea culpa. And honestly, I think if he says, I know what people thought I said and meant, but that's not what I meant. And I was just reporting and, and saying what has already been out there. But, the problem is these shows all blurred the line on news. And I mean, that's the same thing. You go to Gutfeld and watch his show. And it crosses the line of what's news and, entertainment. And those lines have gotten blurred. And, you hear things from, Fox, you hear things from MSNBC, and they're truthful, and then they go their own ways. Again, it's something that each side has to look at and recognize, and don't swallow the hook, Bob in New York, and just go with, that's what they said and stuff, because you're not hearing everything these people are saying. You didn't hear the first 8 words. You didn't hear the last 8 words. You just heard the 6 words in between all that. So we shall see, but I don't think putting him back on the air with all this talk and everything, I might have given it another couple of weeks. But ABC made a decision. They made a decision to pull him. They can make the decision to put him back. He was not banned by the FCC. So, when they go, oh, it's free speech, he's being stopped from... No. It wasn't the FCC that stopped him. It was ABC, the company that he works for. So, all right. On yesterday's podcast and multiple ones before that, I spoke about the fake paid protesters showing up at a lot of these corporations And, in a lot of situations where, these people don't even live in the state, or they don't even live in the town. They're not even part of what was going on in the community, yet they're showing up at these things and they're out there. And, you know, when the news focuses in on it, it looks like there's 1,000 people there, but actually there's only a couple of hundred, if that. And these are the people screaming and yelling with these pre-made signs and everything. It's like, hey, how'd they get those pre-made signs? Okay, so it's organized. How? And then you find out that they're paid protesters. And, and I said yesterday, it should not be allowed, but I don't understand how you could stop it. Because to me, they're lobbyists now. They're not, people from every walk of life, doing this protest. This is people that are paid to be there. And, it's like the old, cartoons where the sheepdog is watching the herd, and then, 5 o'clock, boop, boom. And he punches out, and the coyote comes running in. There's someone else there now to take his spot, and bops the coyote. The coyote thought he was going to have a free ride here. But that's how I see these protesters. And they're not protesters. They're paid lobbyists. So, in one of these groups, ANTIFA is now being labeled as a terrorist organization. And I think a foreign terrorist organization, which allows now the government to start looking at how they're being financed. I don't know what you have to do that, and could Antifa go, hey, no, we're not. We're made up of the people of the United States. You're saying we're terrorists? We're not terrorists. We're a political action committee. These are the things that we support, and we get our money in through people that believe in our cause. But it will be interesting to see how that plays out. Because if you stop the flow of money to these people, they die in the vine. No one's paying the buses. These people aren't going to show up for free. And all of a sudden you don't have these protests anymore. So, I think it was a brilliant move by the government. We've seen Antifa, Black Lives Matters, and some other groups that, are just spewing out, and their people, cause many, many problems, looted, robbed people, beat people up. Yeah, I think the government going after them is a good thing. As long as the government adheres to the laws. And that's why I said I'm a big proponent. This is it. This keeps us from, pitch battle with one another. For people that don't believe in the Bible, this is the next thing they got to protect them, is the Constitution and our laws. So, very important. Very, very important. But I thought it was brilliant that the government looked and said, well, these are a terrorist organization. Now, I don't want to see just the label being thrown out there that any organization could be labeled a terrorist organization just because they go against uh, an administration. Could be Republican, could be Democrat. And you yield that type of power where, well, you know what, instead of dealing with them, I'll just squash them. Yeah, I agree. That's something you have to worry about. And we have to make sure that that does not happen. And that's not the case about what's going on. So, and of course, these fake protesters used intimidation of force uh, against companies to make DEI changes and funding the groups like Black Lives Matter and other radical groups. Disney was one of them. Disney was just handing out money. Just leave us alone. Don't protest in front of our parks. Don't do this. Don't do that. Here's money. And as a company, you could do that. But when it all comes out, you might have to answer to your stockholders to say you gave $100 million out in the last 3 years to these groups. And we could have had a 12% more dividend or, no, I got a problem with that. So I think that was brilliant by the Trump administration. As long as it's done correctly. As long as it's done correctly. I'd love to hear what you think about it, except Bob in New York. I'll tell you what to say. No, I'm only kidding, of course, Bob. The other thing that, has been floating around, the media, and liberal media, has made claims that the FBI in 2024 had a sting operation on Tom Homan, who is, of course, in which he took a $50,000 bribe. Now, I haven't seen any things, this is just them saying, hey, the FBI has this and, they're not releasing it, or they killed an investigation. The White House has denied it ever happened. Now, Homan had stated that he did nothing illegal. And what he was doing, he was acting as a go-between. Companies looking for future contracts with the Trump administration. And he was helping to point them in the right direction. Now, this is according to him. Now, if Honan never made this statement that he had been doing this and collecting money from these companies on their behalf to help them, guide them through the process when he was appointed to his position, yeah, I'd have a problem with that. I'd have a problem with that. So, the situation with took some type of hit over here, but the situation with that is that he's saying he didn't do anything illegal. taking money from companies to help them facilitate contracts is not illegal. But I would say that if he did not report it, that he had done this, I mean, again, and he might say, hey, no one ever asked me. You know, I filled out your questionnaire. So if they didn't ask the question, he didn't lie, or he didn't withhold it because you didn't ask the question. But I don't know what those forms look like, or, you know, all I know is that, you know, when they ask, is there anything that you have done that could be considered? And that's a loaded question too. Well, I don't consider it bad, so no, I don't consider that something I needed to report because I didn't do anything. So I, again, don't know. But if the question was asked of him and he did not answer it truthfully, well, then I got a problem with the guy. Just like I would with anyone else. Just like I would have with a Schiff filling out his paperwork for a mortgage. Or Letitia James. That if you're not going to be truthful about certain things, then I gotta question your integrity. So if there's a problem where this guy didn't report it, and he should have, well, then I got a problem with this guy's integrity, and maybe I don't want him doing work for me. So that is some of the things going on today. The other thing, Kamala Harris, was on the Rachel Maddow show pushing her new book and explained to Maddow why she did not pick Buttigieg, but she said she would have had liked to have picked him for a running mate over Walz. Okay, we saw that. That's in her book. And she said a gay person realistically could not win. So she picked people that could get her across the finish line. Is that such a bad thing? I didn't see that as being, you know, a bad thing. You know, she was out to win and not be politically correct. So did she have to pick a gay because that might have been the politically correct thing to do, or was it the politically correct thing to do is try to win and maintain the status of the Democrats? I would go, she had to go with a winner. Now, we knew the choice that she had and the people who turned the job down because they knew damn well that Harris was a bumbling buffoon. And she was only there because she was stupider than Joe Biden. Joe Biden needs someone stupider than he was. So Harris fit the bill beautifully. Shapiro wasn't going to be a yes man to her. So Newsom wanted nothing to do with her. You know, and everyone that had a chance or could have been said no. And Walsh, you know, being the dummy that he is, you know, uh, said, yeah, I'll do it. And he turned out to be a disaster. So, uh, I mean, he wasn't even a good, whoever was writing his speeches and stuff, they weren't very good. They weren't very good at all. Uh, but she didn't win, and then she wrote a scathing book on that. She was reckless in not challenging Joe Biden in his choice to run for a second term, that she should have challenged him. And in reality, I don't blame her for not challenging him, because your job, when you are that close to the president, his inner circle, their job is to go around the president and protect him. Like a wagon train, you know, circle the wagons around the president. And her job wasn't to go in there and tip the apple cart over. So I thought that she was a loyal vice president, that when, you know, Biden said, do this, do this, do this, do this, or whoever was telling Biden to say to her to do this, she did it. And, okay, that was her job. You don't think Vance doesn't do what Trump tells him to do? No, that's not how it's played. So, she came off on the show. I watched, you know, some segments of it, and man, I didn't know if she was high or drunk, or is this really Kamala there unmasked? I mean, oof, oof. She did not come over as being, you know, too sharp. So, America got real lucky. Not lucky, actually, America knew not to pick her. And they didn't. And we have Trump. All right. The other surprise I got, and I was surprised at this, that the Supreme Court reversed a long-standing ruling on the firing of commissioners inside the executive branch. The case goes back to 1934, and we all know what that was, or you should look it up. Look it up. Where Franklin Delano Roosevelt fired FTC chairman, and that became known as the Humphreys probate ruling by the Supreme Court, who said the president did not have the unilateral power just to fire that chairman, since they were appointed by the president but ratified by the Senate. And the president does have the power to fire them if they meet the three reasons of cause. And you just not liking the guy, or this guy not agreeing with you, or this guy, you know, challenging you, is not a reason. Though you could say they become ineffective, and that's for cause, so you could fire them for being ineffective. But they would also have the right to go to the Senate and go, yeah, No, I wasn't ineffective. Did everything I was supposed to do in my job. My job is to advise and tell and not be told and ordered. That's why we have these positions. And I thought the Supreme Court would have said, no, that ruling stays and you can't do this. Not that it opens the door for Trump to just be able to start firing these people willy-nilly. But it does say that if you challenge it, there's a good possibility you're going to lose it. And, you know, my thing, if I was the Democrats and saw this now, I'd challenge some of those other firings. Because if you didn't, you're going to lose it anyway. And if the Supreme Court goes, no, we already ruled, we're not listening to it, you know, that's gone. You've lost it. But if they do hear it and then do agree with you, well, then you won it. But if you never fight for it, how do you know? So, and that's the thing what Trump is doing. People just don't understand that. And I've said this before in my other podcasts, and you know, Bob calls me a liar and out of New York, and I lie, and I go, I don't lie. I just present the facts to you. And the fact is that what Trump is doing is not expanding the powers of the president in the executive branch. He's defining them. And this comes down to would've, could've, should've. And a lot of presidents didn't want to go there because if they lost it, they lost power. So there was other ways to dance around the problem. Work out a compromise, you know, with the Senate, with Congress, whoever. Because if once you lose it, it's lost forever. And really, once you win it, it might take, you know, 90 years for the courts to reverse that, as we have just seen. So it's not one of the things that a president likes doing, but Donald Trump likes that. He likes that confrontation. He likes the chaos. He does his best work in chaos. And the Democrats still don't get it. They still don't get it. And I don't know what else, you know, to say other than the fact that each side running to the Supreme Court just shows what a failure Congress has been. And that goes Republicans, that goes Democrats. What a failure the Congress has been. And if I had my way, I'd fire them all. Start anew. And if I was the Democrats, I go, I'm unhappy with the Democrats that are sitting there. I don't want to put a Republican there, but I'm going to find me a Democrat that thinks like me. And we'll vote them in. I mean, you have choices. If you don't like the Republican, take them out and put another Republican in there. You ask Rice what happened to him down here in South Carolina. We got a Republican that thought like us. We got rid of him. He was in there forever. Boom, out he went. And the Democrats can do the same thing. Those people that you go, hey, you are just way over to the other side. I need a more moderate one. And you find a moderate one. Support him. Put him in office. You don't have to not vote, and you don't have to vote for a Republican, or a Republican doesn't have to vote for a Democrat because I feel I have no choice. No, you have a choice. Now, if you don't exercise that choice, well, then you're just lazy politically, and you get what you get. So, my feeling is never not vote. That's silly. Because whatever your feelings are, if you don't vote, you gave your opponent a vote. Because you got no one to counter his votes. So, not voting is not a good answer. Finding people that meet your agenda, or at least a majority of your agenda, where you go, all right, listen, I know I'm not going to get everything I want, but at least I get 50% of what I want. That's who you go. That's who you go for, and that's what you do. So, but I was surprised with the Supreme Court. This was a ruling, and that I said in the beginning that I thought that he would lose, as with the one of halting funds that were already appropriated by Congress, where you could do a reach back or claw back, or, they do have a congressional name for grabbing that money back, and it eludes me right now, but I call it clawback. And if the money hasn't been spent already, you could go, whoop, hold it, I'm taking it back. But you must notify Congress and give them time to, since they approved it, they got to look at it. Now, if they don't answer your request, you can do it then. But I thought the president needed to officially notify Congress and then move from whatever the procedures are for that. And I thought he would have lost that. It looks like he's going to win that one. And there are things that Trump is doing that it's very not shadowy, but boy, he's got good people telling him how to challenge the Constitution, and showing that what he is doing is allowed under the Constitution. And again, this goes to, could you or should you? And I mean, setting the tariffs, declaring that, the invasion and insurrection acts, but if he can prove that ANTIFA, who did rioting, was getting money, and they're from outside interests to this country, or known enemies of this country, he can prove his point. If he can prove that drug cartels are bringing people over illegally and then using them to bring drugs in, he can prove his point of a border that can't be enforced, and thus that's called an invasion. And he can, and you keep saying, oh, no, you can't do it. No. He might be able to make legal proof, connect those dots. And Democrats just, just don't get it. They think that they're going to win any type of race, screaming Epstein or free speech. That they're going to win any. No, all you're going to do is have the same people that you had last time. And even that, we have shown that you have fallen off. Charlie Kirk's assassination, there have been more young people joining his movement than ever before. You got a 2026 election coming out. How do you think this is going to work for you? And you have these talking heads going, oh no, the Democrats we're going to win. We're taking back. Look, we're inching our way back into the House of Representatives. No, not really. You've had special elections in blue districts that, might have been filled by, red, and now it's filled. But the 2026 election, using today as a model, and I know you can't use today. Yeah, you can. The amount of seats lost by the Democrats would be unprecedented. Now, if that carries over, which I think it will, I think the GOP is going to grab every instance of some of the Democratic rhetoric, and the Democrats won't be able to grab as much of that right rhetoric as they would like or could, because it's going to be countered by a bloody podium, Trump being shot, stores being looted, police not doing their jobs because they're being told not to do it, rampant drugs on the street, homeless people blocking storefronts and robbing people. I think the Democrats are going to have a horrible time presenting themselves. And as much as they scream Epstein, just means they don't got nothing. Epstein's is not going to change the price of gasoline or the cost of an egg. Not doing it. And you're not even hearing the Democrats talking about health care. You're not even hearing the Democrats talk about housing. You're not even hearing the Democrats talking about college costs. All you're hearing is Epstein. That's it. You're not hearing anything of the other stuff. It's mind-boggling. And if I was a Democrat, moderate Democrat, who go, oh, those are things that were important now. Hold it. They weren't important? You're not going to still pick the flag up and run with it? I have to think twice about you guys. Maybe I need to find new Democrats. And some of them go, I'm not going to find new Democrats when I got a Republican over there that I know with Trump there and pushing it, we're going to move forward here. You got Newsom saying you can't wear masks. Yet everyone who commits a crime is allowed to wear a mask, but law enforcement can't wear a mask because you're doxing them, following them, harassing them in their homes and schools and their children and family. And that has happened in the past. But it was done by organized crime. And if you start harassing our police, I think that should be a federal crime. And as such, if you're being supported by people who are giving you money, that's RICO. And we start getting tough with these people. And it's being tough because you abused the privileges. You abuse them. And this is what happens when people feel that they've been abused. You have a Trump in there because of 12 years of Democrats. And his actions are such that it is a direct reaction to what the Democrats have been doing, and the American public was not allowed to go out and say, no, no, no. Well, you were called a racist, a homophobe, a hater, a Nazi, a dictator, a fascist. You lost your job. Well, everything has a breaking point. And now you're paying for it. And I'm going to tell you right now, Democrats, 2026, you ain't seen nothing yet. You're going to lose seats that you never thought were ever losable. And you have the Democrats screaming that Trump is using, the government to go after political opponents. Look at what the Biden administration did. Look at what the Obama administration did. No. I don't even call it, this is fair play. You ain't seen nothing yet. And you could scream and yell, and call us fascists, and call us. You can't call people fascists and Hitler, and they're going to take everything away from you, and then not have political shootings. You can't. We know what that formula is. We know what happens when you mix that all together. I don't need to have the experiment go to its conclusion to know what the results of it's going to be. And you'll have diehard liberals. Oh, aren't you fascists? Isn't he just like Hitler? And you're so brainwashed. So brainwashed. And you go, you're the ones that are brainwashed. No. We should have stomped you out and stopped you from doing that, but we didn't because, you have free speech and you can do all that. Well, your free speech and saying, people should be murdered. And even the Fox news person that said the homeless should be exterminated, he should be fired. Not suspended or not told, go out there and give an apology. And that's it. He should have been fired. But now, Fox Cable News, you don't have to worry about that because the FCC doesn't get involved. But, and I said, that's where double standard you could say with Kimmel. He said something and they, have the FCC close him down. The FCC wasn't going to close anyone down. They might find people, and people, the company can go, this is the step we're going to do before you do this. So, and the FCC turns around and goes, okay, we're fine with that. But we're watching you. No more of those bad habits. So, And that certainly has happened to a lot of people. So liberals, you're just going to have to get used to this. This is the way this is going to play out. Maybe in 2032 you might get some recovery, but 2026, 2028, nope, nope, nope. And I said yesterday, you guys set your own homes on fire. So now you can't cry that you have no place to live because you burnt your own homes down. Hochul will be out as the governor of New York. There's a good chance the governor of New Jersey will be a Republican. And I think, Fetterman is the voice of reason for the Democrats. I think he is the voice of reason for the Democrats. I think, some of these people should be out of there that are representing the Democrats. And, you need more moderates. We don't need radicals in the right. We need moderates. And it's getting there. It's getting there for the Republicans. Not quite there yet. Not quite there yet. And as I said the other day, liberals will go crazy when the next Supreme Court justice opens up. And it's going to be Ted Cruz. Yeah. Yeah, I heard it here. I kept saying it. Ted Cruz. Probably one of the best constitutional lawyers out there today, bar none. Ted Cruz. And that's why Ted Cruz wasn't picked to be Attorney General. Because Trump has higher plans for him. Wait and see. All right, with that, I'm going to say good night. I'm going to get the show up very quickly today. Bob in New York, I laugh at you in your comments being pinged over to me. I challenge you, Bob, to show where I lied. Yes, Bob called me a liar. And I laugh. And Bob is a huge whataboutism guy. What about that? What about that? And that's not even, whenever he does that, I know I won the argument. I just stopped talking to him. So. But Bob, I'll talk to you in a couple of minutes. I'll see how you're feeling. All right. With that, again, I'm going to say good night. Give to a charity if you can. Charity does begin at home, but if you can, give to a known charity. Don't become a victim helping a victim. If you can give to a food bank, please give to a food bank. And then you can ask them when you go there, what else do you need? Do you need just food? Or, what type of foods do you need? Do you need clothes? Do you need this? Do you need that? And then anything you can give, that is wonderful. And that's community-based. That's going to happen right in your own community. Say a prayer. Prayer works. Even though Democrats say it doesn't. Prayer does work. The best lie ever told mankind was that there is no devil. All right. And with that, I am going to fade to black, and I will do a show tomorrow. I'm getting the show out very early today because today is Tuesday, and it is poker night. So I do want to do that. All right. With that, I say good night as I fade to black.